Hey, glad you're here. If you're interested in health, performance, and understanding how your body actually works, you're in the right place. Before we start, you can like the video or subscribe to the channel. It really helps, and more content like this is on the way. All right, let's get into it. Let me start with a simple question. If your reproductive cells had to run a marathon, do you think they'd actually make it to the finish line? Or would some of them slow down, lose direction, or just stop halfway through? Because today we're not talking about muscles, not testosterone, not alpha energy. We're talking about something much more basic, your reproductive health. Honestly, it's one of the clearest reflections of your lifestyle. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know what actually helps and what quietly makes things worse. Your reproductive quality is basically a summary of how you live day to day. If you don't sleep enough, it shows. If you're constantly stressed, it shows. If you sit all day with heat and no movement, yeah, that shows too. This isn't a miracle drink, and it's not some exotic supplement. We're sticking to basic science, the same things doctors actually recommend. One important thing to understand is timing. Your body doesn't change overnight. This works on a 2 to 3 month cycle. That's good news, because it means you can influence what comes next. So let's go through the things that consistently make a difference. Not trends, not myths, just evidence-based basics. Vitamin E is one of the main antioxidants involved here. Its job is pretty simple. It helps protect cells from oxidative stress. In practical terms, that often means better structure and better movement. Most doctors recommend somewhere between 100 and 400 IU per day. Going higher doesn't really add benefits. It mostly just adds side effects. You can also get vitamin E from food. Almonds, sunflower seeds, olive oil. Basically, a Mediterranean-style diet does a lot of the work for you. Zinc is essential. Without enough zinc, testosterone production drops, and reproductive parameters tend to suffer. Most people do well with about 15 to 25 milligrams per day. More isn't better here. Too much can actually cause other deficiencies. Good food sources include pumpkin seeds, oysters, and nuts. Simple, accessible stuff. Selenium plays a role in protecting DNA and helping cells form correctly. The usual recommended range is around 55 to 100 micrograms per day. Going too high can cause side effects, so this is one where moderation matters. Food-wise, Brazil nuts, eggs, and fish are more than enough. One Brazil nut alone often covers the daily need. Folate helps with proper DNA formation and reduces abnormalities. Most recommendations fall between 400 and 800 micrograms per day. Leafy greens, beans, citrus fruits, and whole grains are all solid sources. If it tastes healthy, there's a good chance folate is involved. Arginine helps increase nitric oxide. That improves blood flow and supports mitochondrial energy production. In simple terms, cells tend to move better when energy delivery improves. This is why arginine is often used in sports supplements. The same mechanism applies here. There are 3 compounds often used together: L-taurine, glutathione, and inositol. Taurine supports mitochondrial function. Glutathione acts as a major antioxidant. Inositol helps improve metabolic signaling. Together, they support structure, energy, and overall cellular stability. Nothing extreme, just supportive. Now, this part matters more than any supplement. First, heat. Chronic heat exposure in the pelvic area can reduce quality over time. Long hot baths, saunas, or sitting for hours with a laptop on your lap all add up. Second, sleep. If you consistently sleep 5 hours or less, hormones suffer. Third, stress. Chronic stress raises cortisol, and cortisol doesn't work well with reproductive hormones. Fourth, substances. Nicotine, frequent alcohol use, and regular cannabis use are all linked to worse outcomes. Even if something feels natural, that doesn't mean it's neutral. Fifth, hydration. Thicker fluid means harder movement. Simple as that. And finally, exercise. Moderate training helps. Overtraining does the opposite. Balance matters. This is where most people run into the real problem. Someone decides to make changes, they read advice, they clean things up, maybe add a few supplements. They try for a couple of weeks. Then they look for results and think, well, nothing really changed. And at that moment, they make a very common and very costly decision. They assume none of it works. The issue is that most people judge progress based on how it feels. If there's no fast feedback, they assume there's no progress. But reproductive health doesn't work like a pre-workout. There's no instant response. Most of the changes happen quietly, in the background. This is how myths start. This is how rituals appear. And this is how people end up trusting things that were never tested in the first place. And that's what we're going to talk about next. There's no shortage of strange ideas online about improving fertility. One big one is heat therapy. A short sauna session doesn't cleanse anything. It usually just overheats the area, which leads to worse results. Same with daily hot baths. They feel relaxing, but physiologically they work against the goal. Another common belief is that certain folk remedies or rituals are the key. Every culture has one relative with a very confident story. The problem is, confidence isn't evidence. There's one more reason why nothing seems to change for a lot of people. They try to do everything at once, and they do it too aggressively. New supplements today, a strict diet tomorrow, hard training every day, and on top of that, poor sleep and constant stress. A few weeks later, they're exhausted, confused, and they quit. The problem is that the body doesn't like chaos. That's why the most stable results usually don't come from doing the most. They come from doing less, but doing it consistently. No overload, no hero mode, no trying to fix everything in a month. Here's the main takeaway. What you do today shows up in results about 2 to 3 months later. This isn't a quick fix, it's delayed feedback. But the upside is, small, consistent changes actually work. If you improve sleep, clean up your diet, manage stress a little better, avoid chronic heat exposure, and cover basic micronutrients, your reproductive health can change significantly. So here's a simple question to leave you with. If today's results reflected the last 90 days of your life, would you be happy with them? If you have questions or personal experience, feel free to share it in the comments. And if this was useful, you can like the video or subscribe. More content like this is coming.